Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're back. Gamer Time Podcast, episode 8 bajillion, 900 million, 800,000, whatever it was. I don't know how many we've done. It's been a little over a year, but we've racked up a good amount of episodes, but we took a little bit of a break and now we're back. A weird time though, midway through the NFL season. Basketball is just wrapped up. Hockey wrapped up, baseball wrapped up, and in the middle of COVID, in the middle of a pandemic, we're here talking football because that's pretty much the only thing on right now. So we're here, football time, and we're ready. Big Al, how you doing?
I'm good, Maddie. Peace, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's been a while, so it's good to see you, and glad we can get back on here and talk some sports and whatever else. Um, do you have any special topics you want to hit first?
Um, well, since you said about football and whatnot, let's dig into that right now.
Okay. Um, so like I said, we are just about halfway through the season. Some of the bigger highlights are a decent surprise success story for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think some people thought they were going to be good, but I'm not sure they would start out. What is it, 7-0? Um, so they've got off to a hot start, and they're playing really well behind a great defense. Some other notable teams that did not do too well so far, like the whole NFC East, um, your Cowboys and Eagles and Washington and the Giants and stuff like that. Um, what is your take on, such a poor outing for a whole division? I mean, the division champion gets a playoff spot no matter how bad of a record it is. You know what I mean?
Right, and to be honest with you, Matt, I think, and I understand this happens with all teams, but to be honest, I think the injury bug hit again, and you got Barkley out, you got um a lot, and the Redskins. Well, the Washington football team.
Yeah, yeah,
They're They have some talent, but they're just like they're not what they used to be. So I think they're not they're not really in the mix right now. I mean, okay, technically all teams are in the mix, but they're like you got the Eagles. They're getting healthier. They still had a lot of injuries with the receivers and the offensive line, but they're getting healthier. It's just Carson has not been Carson that everyone expects him to be right now. And with the Cowboys, I I expected, like we usually do, high hopes for this team that has so many Pro Bowlers, so much talent, but um, I feel like with the new coaching staff coming in and everything, they just for the first part of the season, I don't think they really wanted to play, and it's just a surprise to me that like you guys have a chance to take a lead in the division, and this is what you're getting paid to do, and you're just and then Dak gets hurt, and that makes it even worse. So it wasn't a good start, and I'm surprised they played the Steelers the way they did and
yeah.
kept it. Hey, it was down last play of the game. I mean, we almost beat them, but I'm looking like I'm thinking like where was this week one? Like I think it might be too little, too late, but you never know with the NFC East.
True, true, true. Um, Another big note is I think the worst team in the NFC West is actually better than the best team in the NFC East. I don't know if you noticed that. the I forget who's at the bottom right now. It's either Arizona or LA, but or no, maybe it's San Fran. I forget. Anyway, but they're one game up or one game better than the current leader, the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's actually pretty funny in the standings. Um, but I want to stay there with a surprising. I don't know what your MVP race looks like right now,
Mm.
um, but there's a couple of guys up there. I think Pat Mahomes is having another incredible year. Some people like Aaron Rodgers and how he's taken the Packers on his back and kind of gotten off to a good start. Um, but the big one that I don't know if a lot of people are talking about is Kyler Murray. I don't know if you've seen his numbers, but based on just half of the season so far, if you double everything up, he's on pace for this is what I heard the other day. He's on pace for 4,200 passing yards, 38 passing touchdowns, 1,200 rushing yards, and 16 rushing touchdowns. Like that is
Gee.
bonkers. Like they they're comparing it to Lamar Jackson from last year,
Hmm.
and he's on pace to bust Lamar Jackson's numbers from last year, and Lamar Jackson won MVP last year. So I think a little bit of a dark horse there would be Kyler Murray. Who do you have as MVP so far?
Um, just for giggles. I'll get to my MVP race in a minute, but just for giggles, let me throw in the whole Miami Dolphins team because no one expected this turnaround to happen, and now they're just balling.
Right, right.
Like, even when they had Fitzmagic, and then they took him out and put Tua in. These guys are competing with everybody. So that was just for fun. But I right now, Matt, I with there's so many good players in the NFL, but right now I still say Russell Wilson.
Okay.
I think
Russell Wilson.
he, he's someone that is very experienced, knows, has won a Super Bowl. Um, it's just like, and then he just keeps rolling with those touchdowns. So it just, for them being, I believe they're in the top of the division, and him just keep putting number after number. I understand Mahomes does what he does, but I just think Russell doing it week after week like that is pretty phenomenal, and I got to stay with him.
Yeah, I hear you. Um, I think that some of the biggest things about that was that as of late, he is throwing a few picks that I think, he's had some down games as of late, but he did get off to a great start. So it's not like he's completely out of the conversation. Um, so, all right, let's move past the football here for a little bit. Let's move on to some basketball. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay, so we crowned a champion since the last time Gamer Time has been on the air, and that
Uh,
would be
look at the
oh
look at the time. I think we're
hmm.
I think we're not going to talk about the Lakers. Actually, all right, go ahead since it's your team. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers winning title number 17, tying the Boston Celtics for most in basketball, and there's a good chance they could take that lead, number 18 next season. But that is the biggest story right now, is that next season is right around the corner that quickly because of everything that's been going on with COVID and everything. We've got a quick squeeze in free agency, and we got a quick squeeze in the draft next week and get everybody up to speed. And we're going to be basketball right back up again on December 22nd. So it's very interesting to see how quickly these guys can bounce back and get on the floor and remain healthy and not get hurt. It's going to be tough for the Lakers and for their recent opponent, the Miami Heat, and even the Celtics and the Nuggets. Some of the teams more recent played. Some of the teams have played most recently. Um, but then you're comparing them up against teams that didn't make it to the bubble, like the Golden State Warriors,
Yeah.
and the Lakers last played like 30 days ago or something like that, and the last time the Warriors played, it was like 400 days ago. So it was it's it's been pretty crazy. Um, so I think there is a bit of a health advantage as far as fatigue. and we'll see how that pans out. You are, Mr. Moshes, a pretty big Sixers fan, and there's
Mhm.
been a couple acquisitions that you do you approve? What do you think? New head coach? What do you think?
Well, I been looking for the head coaches and everything. I know it wasn't gonna happen, but I really wish the Sixers would have got Jay Wright out of Villanova
Mm,
because I think he's just phenomenal coaching style and just him as a person. But I'm okay with having the guy from Houston. I know he's gonna make a lot of moves, and from when I hear a possible James Harden acquisition coming to Philly. So, um, I know the guy's I can't remember how old he is, but I know he's been in the league a long time, but I can't really argue with an acquisition like that, especially if they put him around Embiid or Simmons. So, I think they will build around that, even if they don't get Harden, maybe Westbrook or something. But I think I think he'll do a good job in rebuilding this team and trusting that process.
yeah. So for the fans at home, you're referring to Daryl Morey, who was the GM for the Houston Rockets, and he has left and come to Philadelphia. And so he's linked obviously to James Harden, who is a current Houston Rocket. You also picked up a new head coach in Doc Rivers. He's one of the better head coaches in the league, so that would be interesting to see how he does with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and other characters. Um, and even new jerseys. You guys are looking at some new side jerseys. Look pretty nice. So we'll see. We'll see a little bit of a revamp, and we'll see how well they do. Maybe they do, like you said, strike gold and find some way to get James Harden, because the latest news out of Houston is that Russell Westbrook has already demanded a trade and that he wants out of Houston. So Houston losing their GM, maybe losing one of their star players, maybe both of their star players, you could see a huge, just what's it called, fire sale for the Houston Rockets right now. We'll see. Um,
And as the famous phrase goes, "Houston, we have a problem."
yes, good job. Houston, Houston, we have a problem. Correct. Um, okay, so it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. See who goes number one in the draft, and some of the bigger free agent moves. There isn't really anybody huge this year, but it could be some trades, could be some decent signings. We'll see how it pans out. Um, let's move on to baseball. We've got a few recent news articles. First of all, the LA Dodgers won the World Series and made Los Angeles a complete party city right now, with baseball and basketball both winning the championships. Um, but the most recent news, Freddie Freeman wins the National League MVP. Abreu, I believe. Who won AL? Do you know?
Um,
I I can't
I,
remember who it was.
to my knowledge, I
Um,
yeah.
but the Freddie Freeman Award, the recipient, was the first Atlanta Brave to win since '99, Chipper Jones. So that was pretty interesting. There hasn't been uh, an MVP since then. So, um, anyways, we have a World Series champion in the Dodgers. I also heard the Boston Red Sox are allowing their manager to return. I'm blanking on his name.
Alex
Uh,
Cora.
Alex Cora, thank you. He is allowed to return and manage the Red Sox after there that cheating scandal. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, it was a very short season, so it's a little tough to crown huge statistical achievements and huge accomplishments in a 60 game regular season and, a real quick off season, real quick postseason, stuff like that. So,
True.
yeah.
And from what I understand about baseball, for the Phillies, JT Realmuto just declined his option for the Phillies. So I don't know if they're gonna get him back. Doesn't look like it, and it's just a shame because I thought the Phillies were a couple more pieces away from putting a contender together, and they traded for him, and now they're not even gonna re-sign him. So we got to
Right.
look elsewhere for catchers.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean,
Uh,
we've got a couple buddies who diehard Phillies fans, and they it's pretty strong opinions about the GM there and how he's been handling the whole Real Muto situation. And everybody, I mean, the whole city of Philadelphia, Bryce Harper, teammates, everybody loves him. Everybody says to sign him, give him money, pay him, whatever you need to do. And because
yeah.
this guy's good, he's very good. But for whatever reason, they didn't want to pay him, and you know,
Right. Um, and that's a shame because, like I said, I think he is one of the top catchers in the league, and it's just now it seems like he's going to go to another contender or another team to build around. So we'll see what happens with him.
yeah. Okay,
Uh,
so you got anything, another point you would like to bring up at all as far as anything goes? Do you have any hockey news? I'm not the hugest hockey follower, so
right. The only thing I'm going to say about hockey is Tampa Bay beat Dallas to win the Stanley Cup,
right.
which I believe Tampa Bay was the number one seed, or had the best record going into the that bubble playoff system. So they in that way they have a right to win. So speaking of bubble, Matt, I have a couple questions for you. Starting with basketball, going back to that just for a second. With the bubble and the Lakers winning the title and everything like that, how is this coming year going to be as far as getting everyone back into the bubble again and watching these guys compete again?
Well, currently we are in a bit of a surge in COVID-19 numbers, and the country as a whole is starting to, it's starting to pick up again, unfortunately. Hopefully, we can kind of keep it relatively down. It's inevitable that it's going to come back up, but hopefully, we can find a way to, keep it down as best as we can. Um, As far as the NBA bubble, I don't know if they are going to do Orlando again. Like, they're not gonna shove 30 teams in one city and try and do 70 games per team. Like, that's just I haven't heard that. So,
Okay.
news out of LA is that the Lakers just said they will not open the season with fans in the Staples Center. So, um from what I hear, they may try something like um, they may try and limit travel as best they can. So they may like bring, um, let's say the Lakers have like a 5 game homestand or something. They may bring their opponents as soon as their opponents are available to LA to stay there um, more nights. So they'll be in Los Angeles for a longer amount of time, limiting any back and forth, things like that. Um, Another thing that I've heard was kind of the football rumor, which they never did, but which is groups where that you did maybe 4 or 5 different cities and just had like 7 to 10 teams in each city, something like that, and just played those teams and then maybe jumped around. once or twice or three times per season or something like that. I don't know. Um, that's another thing I heard. Um, it's difficult. Like there's no way around this. Like it's running wild right now through college football and the NFL. There's teams left and right who are going through protocols because of what's happening. So I honestly don't think there's anything we can do. Like I think that you're just gonna have to do what you can to limit the spread
Mhm.
and try to advance past what you need to get through, like finish the season and stuff, and hope things die down over time. I think that's most likely situation that's going to happen. I think you're going to have postponements, you're going to have cancellations, you're going to have all that type of stuff. So
Right.
it is what it is, but we'll see.
Okay, and I know you wanted Matt to get into you have something about gaming that you wanted to talk about, but right before that, I just want to know. Uh, I heard about the Cowboys' record and how we don't know if we'll win many more games, and I know the Jets have like one win or something. But if you're GM, Matt, you gotta love the guy for his heart and his effort and everything like that. Dak Prescott, what a player he is, and it hurt him going down like that. And you don't know how that ankle's gonna be after he comes back. Do you, considering his salary options and where he's at physically, do you stick with him or do you go Trevor Lawrence in the draft and go
Oh,
all?
jeez.
I'm hearing different reports, man. I'm hearing different
um,
reports, but what would you predict the Cowboys to do in that situation?
if the Cowboys had the number one pick, I think you take Trevor Lawrence. I do. I don't think that you. I think just based off of what he could be, I think that would be better than what you have right now. That being said, I like Dak Prescott. I think he's a great quarterback, and it sucks what happened. But I do think that this particular guy coming out, the number one pick, is a sure thing. Like I think you need to, if you're in position, like aside from Arizona, Kansas City, um, Cincinnati, you know, Baltimore, these teams who have very young star quarterbacks. Um, aside from those teams, anybody else, you take Trevor Lawrence. Philadelphia, Dallas, Washington, New York, all of them. Like no matter, like I said, other than those few teams, you got to take Trevor Lawrence. Um,
Hmm.
but it does suck. It does suck for Dak. I think that when it happened, I told a coworker of mine he just lost like probably $100 million right there.
Yeah.
Like and that sucks, dude. I mean, that really sucks. But he'll bounce back. I think he'll come back and still be a solid quarterback, um, and still get a decent chunk of money. He's not. Trust me, he's not going to suffer money wise.
Mhm.
He's still going to get a lot of money. But
Oh, yeah.
as far as a record breaking contract, I don't think that's going to happen. Um, but yeah, it does suck. I like him, and I think he's a good quarterback. It was the worst possible time for him. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, so moving on, some of the last news that I'd like to hit on is we've reached once a decade uh, news, and which is brand new consoles, new generation.
A PS5,
Um,
baby.
a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X. Xbox has also come out with a digital edition. There's the Xbox Series S. The PlayStation 5 has also come out with a PlayStation 5 all digital. I guess that's just what they're calling it. The all digitals do not have a disk drive. From what I heard, the all digital on PlayStation is practically the exact same box as the disk drive. Um, but for Xbox, it is actually much less specs wise than its the Series X. So I think that the best deal could be the $400 all digital PlayStation 5. That would be the cheapest price for still getting some of the perks. Um, but yeah, the pre-orders happened. When was that? Like a month or two ago, and websites crashed, and people couldn't. It was a debacle. Like Walmart did it too early. It was supposed to happen a day after when they did it. Same thing with Best Buy. But um, yeah, we just reached release day yesterday for PlayStation, and Tuesday was for Xbox. Um, it's a beautiful time, man. I'm watching it happen real time, and I'm like, oh man, just take my money. But but it's actually pretty difficult to get right now. So, Walmart put out something that was like you could go on there and find it, and it says check back at noon, and we're restocking our shelves, quote unquote. And with before 12:05, the website was crashed. So
Yeah.
same thing. They did it again at 3 o'clock, and before 3:10, I think I checked it at 3:07,
Mhm.
and I couldn't get online. I couldn't
Mm.
go on their website. It was crashed. So it's very high demand right now. They're flying off the shelves. Um, but some of the bigger games, you got Spider-Man, which is Miles Morales, which is pretty high up there in demand. You can get 2K21 and Madden 21, the brand new editions, and those are highly touted as well. Um, a couple of new features as far as PlayStation goes. The controller got a huge upgrade. It's called the Dual Sense, and it is pretty amazing, man. I mean, you can feel like the one guy I was watching. He had a game where it was, I think it's Astro's Playroom, where it's like this little guy who runs around. You can feel all of his little steps, like as he's running across the ground. Like you feel little taps in the controller.
Yeah.
And if you, let's say you're in a shooter or something, and you whip out a bow and arrow, right? And it tells you to pull back on the bow and arrow with R2. You press the R2 button. As it pulls back, the R2 button gets harder and harder to press. It actually, you can feel the tension in the button, which is
Oh
pretty
my
amazing.
gosh.
It's just little things like that. And um, I heard somebody, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I heard something the other day where it started raining in his game, and he could feel like a vent or a cooling sensation in his hands. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if there's vents on the controller or what it was, but who knows? I mean, the stuff that I am hearing is real. Then hey, man, it could be possible. I don't know, but it's yeah, the controller is one of the biggest improvements in this generation, and it's pretty amazing. So I'm excited to get my hands on one. um, I don't know about you, but it'll be a couple more months until I get one. But I'm excited. What do you think?
Well, first of all, Matt, that's pretty creepy that you're talking about all this motion sensors on, what today is, Friday the 13th.
Yes, you're
Oh,
right.
yeah, that's pretty weird that you mentioned that today. But I'm excited. I can't. I am gonna wait a little while until things cool down as far as pricing and all that. But and don't get me wrong, I still love my PS4. But I think I got to continue with the trend. I mean, I've gotten every PlayStation system since then, so eventually I'm gonna add that. Are you gonna do the same, or are you gonna switch to the dark side and go to Xbox?
No, 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 no.
Goodness.
Definitely, I'm definitely going PlayStation 5. It's game. They could. Xbox is always arguing with their specs, and their specs are a little bit better, and there's certain parts that are nicer. but they do not compare. It's nowhere near when it comes to games. PlayStation is just leaps and bounds better as far as exclusives and things like that. So um, I'll definitely be sticking with PlayStation 5. Um, I can't wait. It's exciting, man. It'll be really nice come next fall, 2021, with Madden 22 on PlayStation 5. Like that'll be nice. I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited for that time. But um, so we are approaching the end. Uh, all right, so everybody, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Um, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe, and we did take a big break there. It's been a while since we've recorded anything, but I personally, I don't know about you, Big Al, we should get back on this and do our best to kind of do more episodes like this because it's a good time. So um, for Big Al, I'm Matt, and I will see you all later. Big Al.
Yeah, thanks guys. And like you said, we want to continue doing this while we're in this type of time and keeping you entertained, and um maybe even have some more even special episodes that we've already been having some business meetings about. So we want to surprise you guys a little bit later on. So just keep with us, we'll keep with you, and just keep spreading the love. So thank you guys. Peace out.
All right, everybody.